If I could describe the Get My Life tour in one word, it would be vulnerability. Showing up for yourself is so important. Welcome to the Get My Life tour. I'm your host, Lydia T. Blanco. Hey y'all, Olivia here, and I'm so excited for the next stop on the Get My Life tour. Taking the stage with me today is Dr. Akilah Cadet, the founder of Change Cadet Consulting. In the last episode, I spoke about how the Get My Life tour came about and how I left my job to exit a toxic work environment. And let me just tell you, if I knew Dr. Cadet last year, I would have been begging for her services. I know that sounds extreme, but God's timing is perfect. So she's here to join us today on the journey. What I'm going to do is get right into her bio, and Dr. Cadet will take the stage with us. Dr. Akilah Cadet, MPH, has 15 plus years in management and building successful projects, teams, and leaders. She has worked various multi-million-dollar projects. I had to slow down to get that multi-million-dollar projects out, ranging from healthcare to education. Dr. Cadet is the founder of Change Cadet, an Oakland-based organization developmental consulting firm specializing in diversity, equity, and inclusion. Change Cadet aims to support women and people of color in underserved communities through coaching, strategy, innovation, and organizational change. Cadet is a French term that means soldier, and Change Cadet prepares soldiers of change to overcome barriers in the workforce so there can be more opportunity for women and people of color. As a woman of color, she uses her personal and professional experiences, as well as the touch as Beyonce, yes, to inspire her work. Dr. Cadet holds a Bachelor of Science in Health Education and Community-Based Public Health, a Master of Public Health, and a Doctorate of Health Sciences and Leadership in Organizational Behavior. Dr. Cadet, it is not cadet.
It's not.
It is not. Welcome to the Get My Life tour.
Thank you.
I am so thrilled to be having this conversation with you.
I am too.
And I have to take it back to when we first met.
Yes.
Here in the Bay Area.
Yes.
I was here for work.
On your side of the bay.
On my side of the bay. Shout outs to San Francisco. And you pulled me to the side and I looked at you. I saw your curls. I believe I was getting off the escalator.
Yes.
Running around like a chicken with my head cut off, working the event, being on stage, dealing with all these HBCU students. And you stopped me. And I don't know why you stopped me at the time, but I was like, whoever she is, I need to talk to her clearly. And we connected over Instagram.
We did. I slid in your DMs.
Yeah, slide in my DMs. People don't slide into my DMs enough. Not that I want them to, but I kind of just
I do. I like when people slide in my DMs.
Yeah.
I do. Because it's, usually good stuff. I mean, I get marriage proposals. I don't want that. But yeah.
Look, if you can pay these student loans at this point in my life.
I mean, I would just want him to spell Mary right.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
You know,
like Merry Christmas or Marry the Woman?
Marry the Woman.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm not her.
Okay. Beyond the marriage proposals.
Yes.
I am so glad that you slid into my DMs.
Aww.
Because I had this idea for the Get My Life tour. And the first time that we got on the phone, a month later or so, it came full circle. Like I knew that I was supposed to run into you that day. So I'm so glad you stopped me.
No problem.
So glad we followed up. And now we're sitting here having this conversation.
We are.
And the reason why is because in the last episode, I talked about, being employed and feeling like a failure because I was burnt out and experienced so much toxicity in English. And you related to that story.
Yes.
Tell me more about your journey as a coach and a professional who has had a similar experience to me.
Yeah. So first I stopped you because you were working the event hard and you were doing your thing. You're up on the stage. I was like, ooh, I need to talk to her. There's something about her. And so when I ran into you and you were on the move, I was like, I'm gonna follow up with you. And so I'm glad it all worked out. And I'm glad you noticed something about me as I noticed something about you. So I know. Tender moments. No. Yeah. So my journey is an interesting one. I was originally pre-med. I'm a first generation child. I'm a child of an immigrant. So, I knew at 9 I was going to be a physician. I was going to be a great physician. As I went into the journey and got into grad school, being pre-med, chemistry was the devil. And I was like, oh, okay, so maybe this isn't for me. But my major was health science. So I learned about this other side of healthcare and management and what's needed to make doctors strong and successful and support nurses and this whole thing, systems, community. And it was totally my jam. So I was like, I'll be a health administrator. I'll be a manager. So I did those things for a while, went back to get my master's in public health, because people weren't treating me with respect. So I got my master's at some age in my 20s. I don't remember. And then I ended up working at a hospital, and it was a dream job because if you're in health administration, the hospital or health system is where it's at. Because that has the power and the leverage, and then you can really affect change with the people that work there and the people that are treated there. So I got a great job. I was working in the education and training department, and my boss and I started on the same day. My boss and I both had A names. Wow. My boss and I had a similar skin color. Okay. So people got us confused all the time. They're like, is it you that was this or that or whatever? And it was funny for us. And we developed a wonderful working relationship. And we also developed a friendship too at the same time. I had never been in a situation where someone was around my age who was my supervisor, who believed in me. She actually wrote my one of my letters of recommendation for my doctoral program. Wow. Yeah. So it was wonderful. Great. Fast forward, things started to change. A member of this committee that was introducing a new type of initiative for the health system. And one day I was the expert. And then the next day I was taking notes, and I was like, see, I have a master's, and this job requires a master's, and the staffer for that committee was moved to a different role. So for some reason, they thought that I was the person that needed to take notes. And I was like, well, you realize if I take notes, then my voice has no value anymore because I'll be treated. I'm already a woman. I'm already perceived young. I'm already a Black woman. So they're going to treat me like an assistant. And that's what happened. So stuff like that started to happen and change. And then I felt like I was fighting for my position. Eventually, the person who had the A name, like me, she got a meteoric promotion. So meaning that she was a manager and went into a chief position. Wow. So she's like, you know what? I want you to come with me. So she gave me a director title to implement change for the workforce and improve the workforce. And at that time, I was probably maybe a year and a half away from finishing my doctorate. So it was in line with being someone who was into leadership and organizational behavior. I'm like, this is perfect. And I'll have a job to move into, and then promises of more money. Fast forward, I had to find the fundraising for building that department. Yeah. And then I also had to kind of like develop the role. And then at some point I had to go back into my old role and do my old job half the time and this new job half the time. Wow. So I was like, something isn't right. So she went on vacation, came back. I won all the fundraising grants that I wrote. And then she was like, okay, well, you can just go back to your old job. It had been 6 months. Go back to your old job. And then I'm also never going to pay you for the work you're doing. And you can just work from home on Fridays because I know you're finishing your doctorate, and just like check your work email.
Wait, so does she mean she wasn't going to pay you in U.S. currency? Or yes. You weren't going to be compensated? Not compensated. And your intellectual property and hard work. Yeah. It went overlooked, but almost borrowed. Let's say borrowed. Or do you want to go for the stolen? The S word? Okay,
yeah. Stolen, ripped away. Okay. Just taken from all the feelings that you have for a bad work day. It was just multiplied by 10. It was a horrible day for me because I believed in this woman. I felt she believed in me. She's a woman of color, and she betrayed me. So my body was like, I don't know how to deal with this. We're used to like white people fucking you over, but not a person of color. So that was different. Like I had stuff when I was in high school, and women of color being difficult, but not in the professional sense because there's only so many of us. And I feel like there should be a form of solidarity, which I learned from that experience. There wasn't. So I didn't know what to do because every day going back to work was PTSD for me. Every day was just really, really frustrating because she went on maternity leave soon after, didn't communicate that my role changed. Wow. So people were asking me for the same thing because, again, both have A names and say same, skin color. And I had to say no. And I said no because I wasn't going to get paid for that. There was no need for me to go to this additional committee meeting or go across town to this meeting because I was no longer in that role. So for some people, it looked like I was an asshole, but I was really protecting myself because it wasn't worth it for me anymore to go above and beyond because that wasn't my role anymore. So I half-assed my work. I did the bare minimum to get my job done. And I'm a Virgo, so my half-ass is full-ass for most people. Like, they don't know the difference. But for me, I felt the difference because I don't like being in a situation where I can't give my all or feel challenged or grow. So I did that for a while. There was a lot of other horrible things that happened there, like messing with my job and just things that were just really cruel. And so once I was able to graduate with my doctorate, I a month later was diagnosed with severe depression. So I knew something wasn't right about me, how I was feeling. And I do have 3 degrees in health. So I really knew something wasn't right. I just had to realize that I needed to go and talk to someone about it. But really just to have the brain space and capacity to deal with it. So just being in school for so long, I was in school full time and I work full time. So I didn't have time to do anything like at all.
You mentioned body before you mentioned the feeling of PTSD. And, we know our bodies so well, but there's so much that we ignore.
Yeah.
I remember sitting in my chair and being on deadline and literally not moving because I had to get something done. That didn't really translate to bowel issues for me in my thinking or my posture, all of my muscles being stretched, trying to pull me back because I was so cringed over, because of the pressure. At what point did you realize that you had to retreat from all of the nonsense happening in the workspace to really take care of yourself? You have your doctorate, your MPH, you have everything that you need, all the intellect you need to take care of yourself. But what point did the trigger go off for you?
I didn't want to live, and I was trying to figure out how to end my life. So that's really what it was for me. So I was like, but you have your twin sister and you have your little bros, and those are the main reasons why I chose not in my life. So I was like, you should probably see a therapist. And I've gone to therapy before. Therapy is a great thing. But I thought it was fine, but I was really just surviving just to get to the point where I could live again. So by seeing a therapist, I saw 2. They both diagnosed me with severe depression. And I was like, oh shit. Okay. So, which isn't good. So from there I was like, okay, I had a horrible time finding a therapist, but the second one wasn't that bad. And she told me some things and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go live my life and figure this out because the stuff she told me was great, but it would take time for me to make those changes. So I just bought a ticket to Thailand and I went to Thailand for 2 weeks and did the whole eat, pray, love thing and had moments there. And decided to come back and have a different attitude. So I was in a place where I did not care what I wore to work and I love my fashion and I just didn't care. I didn't care. So I started to actually think about what I wore, started interviewing for jobs, applying for jobs, networking. I put more time into Change Cadet. So I did start that my last year of my doctoral program to see if people would pay me as a pretend doctor. And if they paid me as a pretend doctor, then they pay me as a doctor, right? So I basically did a pilot year with that. So I put more time into that and website and social media, doing things to have some type of forward momentum and something to look forward to because work wasn't giving that to me. So I had to really focus on myself. And so once I was able to do that, I was able to find another job that was the dream job where top floor and fancy suits. And I really did feel like the Olivia Pope of diversity, inclusion, and equity. And it was a great job, but a series of unfortunate events there, it ended up not being the right fit for me. So I was put in a position where I was fired for being myself. And that was another indication of, do I go back into severe depression where I'm so good at severe depression? My body, like you said, my body really loves the feeling of severe depression and just being in darkness and sadness and tears. Or do I go back to finding another job where I can be in a situation where I have another horrible boss, like the woman who had the same color as me, or another. I was able to like reflect back on my career and realize that there was this common theme. Like even when I was fired, there was this common theme of discrimination and misogyny and ageism, and also just being too smart. Like I didn't know being too smart was it was a negative. Yeah. When I always told people, like, these are my degrees, And so from there, I had to like figure it out. Like, what do I want to do? How do I want to do it? And do I want to just take a chance on myself and build Change Cadet out? And so I chose to take a chance on myself and build Change Cadet out. I didn't have any money. I just moved to this apartment we're in now. I exhausted all my savings. So when I was fired a week before my birthday. So I asked people for grocery store gift cards.
Smart.
Yeah. And I used that and ate out of my freezer and my pantry and hustled. I had tiny little projects. I wrote for a couple of contracts. So within 6 months, I had won $235,000 in contracts.
That is incredible. Before we get to the $235,000 and those multi-million-dollar contracts and projects, I want to go back to your point about noticing and paying attention to the reoccurring things in your life. You're a doctor, you're not a therapist by trade.
Yeah, I'm not. No.
But we all have like our fake authority therapists that we put on, right?
Right.
What was it inside of you that chose to live, that chose to pay attention to those patterns outside of your twin and your little brothers? What was that for you?
I don't know. I really honestly think it was just my siblings, because that would just be really fucked up for them to have to live with that. And through knowing how they would feel, then maybe that's when a little bit of a flicker of my light bulb came back on to choose to figure out how to live a life that I wanted to live. And learn that just because other people didn't like me or really learn that because you're at work so much, you're at work more than you're in your personal life, that work really isn't your identity. And I thought work was my identity. Like I have a high-powered mom. She's super successful. She also has her doctorate. Work is her thing. It's her thing. And I grew up seeing that. And a lot of her identity is around work. And so I kind of thought it was the same thing for me. And so unfortunately, I didn't put the time and energy into knowing what I needed to be happy and hoping that work would make me happy, or this guy that I was dating would make me happy, or this food or whatever the thing was would make me happy. So I think that was one way I was able to kind of figure out my feelings. And then when I realized that I started stepping into my light, then I was able to figure out how to shine. Because a lot of my life is in the darkness. Like it really is. And I still struggle with depression now too. But now I can say like, oh, I woke up today, or I left the house, or I took a shower, and I learned how to celebrate the little wins. And then by building my practice and speaking to more people and executive coaching and, working on the projects that I have, people are like, oh, you're awesome and amazing and great and all these fabulous, wonderful things. And I had to learn how to take compliments. So like, yeah, you're right. And now like on my phone, it says, I'm amazing.
Because you are amazing.
I am. But it took a while to get there.
Stepping into your light. One of the things that I often tell people about this Get My Life Tour is about showing up for yourself and taking it to the stage. What people often think is a very selfish act. But what I've learned along my journey is that you have to be selfish. While you provide and take care of and protect and guard and all these other things for other people, there is an amount of selfishness that you need in order to survive.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of the things that formed and came to life as you stood in the light in center stage in your life?
I was able to be happy, and I hadn't been happy for a while. And a lot of it is because when you work full time and you're in school full time, and I'd been in school since I was in kindergarten, like, I was just always in school. So I had never been in a place in my life where I wasn't thinking about going back to school or in school. So just having that done helped a lot. And then in those 6 months of building my company, I didn't realize how tired I was. So it took me, after graduating from my doctorate, it took me about a year and a half to sleep longer than 5 hours. Because my brain was like, you have something to do. You either need to go to work or you have to write a paper. Go to work, write, do your research, whatever. And so it wouldn't stop. So it took a while to like condition that. So within those 6 months, I had days where I did nothing. And I just didn't shower. I would just lay down. I would watch TV.
Yes.
I would sleep. And it was a way to kind of like rebuild. And then I had a lot of time to reflect again on things that were happening beyond my, previous career, but things that I did in my life and where I am now, and where things add up. And for me, I'm the first grandchild for my grandmother. She's passed away. My sister and I are a twin life. I can't say it's just me. It was us. But I was super close to my grandmother, and I talked to her all the time and get all this advice. And upon reflection, when I was younger, she would tell me, she's like, Akilah, you're going to have special powers. And I was like, Grandma, what does that mean? She's like, you'll figure it out. I was like, I feel like you should tell me more about that because you know something that I don't know. And she's like, you'll figure it out. And she'd always tell me that. And so I didn't realize that my special powers were, one, surviving, because that was amazing for me to do. But because she told me that I had these special powers, I realized that I was actually a fearless person. Like, I just don't care. Like, I just like, what, you're going to do it. It happens. You do it and it doesn't happen. And so I learned how to be more of my true, authentic self. And people are like, Akilah's straightforward. She'll always tell you the truth. I'm like, yeah, I will, because I don't sugarcoat. There's no need for that for me.
Right.
And if you don't like sugarcoating, then it's probably not going to work in any professional and personal relationship. But I realized that I have the gift I'm intuitive, and I'm also a people reader. And it's not like, oh, I can read people in the room. It's like, I will read your life. And it's weird. I don't necessarily know. It's not weird. I can't say that. It's wonderful because I don't know how and why it happens. But all of a sudden it's like, well, blah, 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 blah. All this stuff comes out and someone's like, how did you know that? I was
That's
like,
exactly
I know
what happened our first conversation. This is why I'm sitting on your couch.
I know.
And may I say your place is lovely.
Thank you. But yeah, no, that's the light for me. So being able to do that and actually find a way to really help people figure things out. And I do it in the professional space because that's where a lot of my darkness came from, right? So if I want to use my light that I now have, because I have the best job ever, I'm the best boss I've ever had.
Yes.
I'm a wonderful leader. I mentor and coach myself. I'm able to do these wonderful things that I always wanted. I want to make sure that people find their light in the work that they're doing. So a lot of that comes through executive coaching for me. So I'm able to help these powerhouses of VCs and tech companies and nonprofits and foundations figure stuff out of how to be their best selves in that role or in another role, and it's really, it's just really amazing that I'm able to do that. So now, like when I first started coaching, I would just like do a little something like, oh yeah, that's me. But now on like the first session, I'm like, these are all things you need to fix because of X, Y, and Z in your life. And then your parents did this. So this is why you don't. And they're like, huh. And I'm like, oh, by the way, I'm a people reader and I'm intuitive. So you're going to get this and you can't lie to me. So this will be fun.
You get what you pay for.
Get what you pay. Yeah, get what you pay for. This will be fun. And then we'll, figure it out. So, ever since I've been able to do that, it's been a fun ride.
You're your best boss.
Mm-hmm.
That statement alone rises something within me so that I can take more charge of my life.
Yeah.
Right? It sounds like you have to be kind to yourself. You have to be flexible, compassionate, on time. Because if you're not, you won't eat. All these things, right? I think when I hear you say you've been your best boss, that means more to me than hearing someone boast about how they are an entrepreneur. Because there's an element of wholeness while we're all in progress, right? What are some of the things that you've had to learn, even though you've had some of the cruelest teachers on earth on your journey, but what are some of the things that you've had to learn in order to be your best boss? Because we're not often kind to ourselves.
Yeah. I don't like to wear pants. I learned that about myself. I have them on now because you're here, but I don't like pants. I tend to work in robes or like t-shirts, and pants for some reason are very limiting and confining to me. So, and I have a home office, so it works that way. I do obviously get dressed when I go out to meet with clients.
That's good to know for our listeners.
Yes, for the listeners. Yes, that's very important. And then I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a hustler, straight up. I'm pretty sure it was a pimp in a past life or something. Like I really feel like the grind is real for me. But it's not like a 24/7 grind. I've never understood the entrepreneurs. Like you never sleep and just up all night and just the grind is nonstop and you work 24/7 and 7 days a week. It's like, no, I work 20 and 30 hours a week because I know like one, I've never liked working full time because now that I want to live my life, I want to live my life. So I want to travel. I want to watch TV. I want to organize a closet. I want to do all these other things that I wouldn't be able to do if I had that 40, 50 hour work week plus the commute. Now I have this time, so I want to take advantage of the time. And then it's just being smart about who you work with, right? So work smarter, not harder, right? It's very cheesy, but also really true. So, I think about my rates. I think about my project rates and whether something's worth my time or not worth my time. Because there's definitely times where I have a busier week and maybe I'm doing an interview on the weekend and then this podcast here and then working with clients and maybe facilitating a leadership group. So there are those times for sure, but it's figuring out how to create that balance. So if I'm doing something on a Saturday or Sunday, I'm for sure not working on Monday or Tuesday. Just making sure that there is that balance and there's that income. I will say I do miss a regular check. I miss that a lot. I think about that. I think about just direct deposit, because that was really nice.
Yeah, that's nice.
And direct deposit, you got paid the same amount for regardless of what you did, but for me, I do have, I have obviously regular checks that come in, but it doesn't mean it's consistently because you are, invoicing and making sure they're paying, it's a different thing, but the checks are bigger and I have endless earning potential and I can diversify my income and I can do lots of different things, which I wouldn't be able to do, in a 9-to-5. And I will say that I am not a believer in people leaving their job to start their own company because it's hard. It's a lot of work. It's a hustle. I'm still figuring stuff out. This is year 4 for me, 2 years full time. And I'm always learning something new. I'm bringing on my first, operations. I have a team on one project, but I'm bringing in someone as an operations director, which is insane. But a few weeks ago, I realized I can't be me and reply to emails. There's no way for me to do that because I'm growing, right? So those kind of things happen. Yeah. So you're evolving that way.
That's really good information. As we're on this journey, as we're on tour, of course, I don't have a sound guy just yet. And I don't have a stage manager and no one's rolling in my equipment. And I love peanut M&Ms. But no one's organizing my peanut M&Ms by color.
Right.
Like Diddy.
You the red ones.
Right. He's my alter ego, but I'm not there yet in life. So
you will be.
Let's speak it into existence, right?
Yeah.
But I say all of this to say that you realize that you need assistance, right? Some people are like, oh, don't say help. Oh my gosh. We all need help.
We all need help.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing because I'm sure that allows you to show up for your clients in different ways. And speaking of clients and, just boom, drop the mic like Funk Master Flex or the bomb that he drops, the multi-million-dollar projects. You go from being torn down from a skinfolk, not kinfolk, right? To managing these multi-million-dollar projects. What was that like?
So, I haven't managed I guess I am doing one now. That's right. So I was doing more multi-million-dollar projects when I had a 9 to 5. So there's these $6-7 million projects, $3 million projects where I was doing grant administration or contract management or managing. And so now it's different because I make the decisions, I write the checks, I figure out who I want to work with, who I don't want to work with. I say no to people I don't want to work with. And you wouldn't have the leeway so much in a 9 to 5 space. So for me, it's just like making my financial goal for the year, and then everything else is extra because I'm extra. So it works out. Yeah,
I'm here for all of that. So you know what? I need tips. I want people to walk away feeling like they can be as dope as Dr. Cadet and really make it through some ish. Like sitting somewhere, rushing to places you don't want to be is the worst feeling on earth. Like pounding the pavement, messing up your little work shoes. Okay, DSW don't have enough cushion out there in these streets. But what are some steps for someone who may be listening at their desk, someone who may be in transition or en route, to that place that they don't want to be at?
Yeah.
What can they do?
So a couple things. One, I would say starting with what is important to you and your culture, right? So when we think about culture, it's the easy stuff like our ethnicity, where we come from, where we were raised, right? But culture also includes the social groups that you're a part of, chronic illness, addictions, your social economical status, your family structure. All of those things are important to you. So when you figure out what's important to you and your culture and what you need to feel supported in that culture, then that helps you figure out where you need to be professionally, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is knowing what you need to be happy, personally and professionally. So if you ever have feelings at work, at a 9 to 5 job where you feel like you're not good enough, that you're always proving yourself, you come home tired. I used to have like anxiety on Sundays because I didn't want to go to work, right? Those are all signs that something needs to change. Right. So from there, if you look at what you need to feel valued at work, so commute, this type of leadership, building a team, autonomy, X amount of money, X amount of benefits. When you write down everything you need, regardless of the position you're in, to feel valued and appreciated at work, so you feel you can be successful, you can grow, challenge, whatever those things are that you need, 80 to about 85% of those things need to be met in order to be successful in your role. If that cannot be met, and I sometimes say 85 to 90%, but if those things cannot be met, there's no way for you to thrive there. That means it's only going to affect your mental health negatively. You're going to take it back home. It's going to affect your relationships, children. You're going to hate your commute, whatever, right? Then it's time to GTFO. And that's Operation Get the Fuck Out and move on to the next thing. You can definitely try to see what you can do to change things in your role or move into a different position within the company or maybe even a different office. But if things are not going to be met, it's not worth the time or energy. Because again, like as I mentioned earlier, you're at work more than you are in your life. So you really need to enjoy the work that you do and find the purpose there. Some people will be fine having some type of passion project or something on this. So, and then, the last thing is Operation GTFO, like, get the fuck out, move on. Because if you are at work more than you are in life, which everyone is, you really have to feel the joy at work. You have to feel motivated. You have to feel inspired, because if you don't, that's going to affect your personal life. You're going to bring it home. It's going to affect your relationship, your kids, whatever it may be, any chance of like dating, your attitude is just going to be really negative. And you could be in a position where you do end up in darkness, right? So either depression of some sort or increased anxiety or a combination of both or PTSD. Like there's no need for us to live lives like that. There are other jobs out there, right? So if you have to leave and do a GTFO, start thinking about who you can network with. Start thinking about who you can talk to. Think about your advisory squad, #advisory squad. So your advisory squad consists of your mentors that you have, advisors, like people who are giving you advice or advocates, right, of what to do. They may be someone at a higher level than you, so they can give you a little insight about how they were able to do something or find a job or this potential career path or degree you may be interested in if you want to go back to school or certification. And your sponsors. So your sponsors are the people who are the magic makers. They're the ones who have the contacts to say, like, you should talk to this person, and boom, you have a job like that. Or they're the person that puts you into a new role or moves you to a new department because they have that power. You may not interface with them regularly, but they see you and they know what you're doing, and then they want to support you with that. So advisory squad, your mentors, your advocates, and your sponsors. So that's the advice I would have to give.
What is the next stop on your tour?
Next up on my tour, hopefully getting married. I don't know.
Yes, where he at though? Everybody knows hashtag where he at though.
Where he at though? I'm single and like
Are you
open
listening?
to
Say
mingle.
it one more time for the people in the back.
You can slide in my DMs because I am single and open to mingling.
That was an open invitation. Hello, somebody.
It is. I'm a horrible dater though. I am not good at all because I'm a people reader. So it's like, oh, okay.
I believe your magical Negro or whoever he is going to fall out the sky.
Yeah.
And he's going to be right there.
Totally. He's going to be like a high fiver, and I'll be a high fiver right back to him, so we'll see.
So if you want a high five or do a little bit more than that, slide into her DMs. Mm-hmm. Come on, give us the Instagram handle.
Oh, well.
We're going forward.
We're moving forward. So you can follow me at Change Cadet. So the word change, CHANGE, and Cadet, CADET. That's also the same for Twitter and Facebook. And you can also go to my website at changecadet.com.
So slide into her DMs or hit her up for professional coaching. Of course, that's why she is here.
Yeah.
Hello, somebody. Akilah.
Yes.
I'm calling you by your first name.
Yes, you should.
Because we're at the end of this episode.
We are.
And you have been such an open book and such a resource.
Thanks.
And I am certain that you have helped someone out. Because so many people, especially women, just think that we have to go through. Everything must be a process. This must be for a reason. I'm going to make it through. And, one of the things that Tremaine Lee said to me, and someone shared it with him, was that there's nothing natural about resilience. And we shouldn't have to be resilient. As crazy as that sounds, right? But it's so true. Like, I don't know where the word resiliency and resilience and all that jazz comes from. Shout out to all the people who are just like sliding to my DMs. Like, actually, it comes from here.
Right.
Thank you very much in advance. But one of the things that I also believe, and this is from my church, shout out to Pastor Mike, is that we were created to live the lives we were, created to live. We have to live those lives. And you're living. And you've taken center stage in your life. And the light, like you said, is shining on you so very brightly.
Why, thank you.
You're welcome.
I mean, it was a life of lessons. I'm only 36. I don't know what else is.
You're not done.
Yeah, but I have to say, though, particularly for women of color, you don't have to fight all the time. There's no need for that. You can just keep it moving and go on to the next thing. I mean, I know I did talk about this, but as you know, I do have heart issues. So I have to fight a lot in healthcare because Black women don't have pain. Black women don't have pain. And that's because society views us as very strong people who could raise a child while being single and doing this thing and then flip that and then wear this dress and then be snatched and then do all that. Like, we have this unrealistic expectation for ourselves. So we are conditioned to live something that is really not our truth, right?
Yeah.
So if you're not happy with him, you're not happy with her, you're not happy with the job, you're not happy in general, all you can do is just change it. You don't have to pretend like you're okay with something. You have to keep it moving and figure out how to, yes, be in your light, but also say no and just find your happiness, whatever that may be.
So I was not going to bring up your heart because...
Oh, I talk about it all the time.
Okay.
It's on my Instagram.
It is on your Instagram.
That's like half topless photos.
Okay, look. Follow her right now. Hello, Change Cadet. She already spelled it. She's going to come up first. But I do want to just go back a little bit because living in this uncertainty about what's going on with your literal heart has forced you to live a different lifestyle. Some things, because you figured you'd have to do them. Others, because your body is telling you. How has listening to your heart shaped your life?
That's a wonderful question. It's shaped my life because once you feel like you're going to die multiple times, you just realize like nothing's a big deal. So you're just like, whatever. And I'm not saying you have to get to the point where you feel like dying, because I know that happened with depression and that's happened with my heart as I've shared my story. But it's just realizing that you can just live your life to the fullest. I'm given a physical cue. So if I'm doing too much, I feel it in my body. I'm tired and exhausted. Or if my heart is beating too fast throughout the day where it feels like I'm running on a treadmill, I'm going to be exhausted. Or if I get shooting pain on my heart, it's like, okay, well, I probably need to, slow down. But there's times where I'm speaking in front of people and I'm in pain, but they wouldn't know it. So that's when I do act like the typical Black woman. I'm like, hey, right. And I get through that because I need to pay my medical bills and my bills in general and make it through life. But I did have to make the decision a few months ago, because it's been 16 months this month that I've had heart problems, that I had to share it professionally and not just personally. So that's why you see, like, if you want to learn more, there's stories and interviews and podcasts on my Instagram and on my website that you can get more about my background story. But I've had to learn that this is now part of my identity. If it goes away, great, still part of my identity. If it doesn't, then, it's just part of my story, and I have to figure out how to live with that.
Let's talk about the typical Black woman.
Yes.
Just a little bit. I was having this conversation in the newsroom not too long ago because there was someone who candidly shared her story about living in pain with an illness and just going about her business as usual. It almost took her out. And now you share your story publicly because it is a part of your life. But there was a part of your life that you lived when people didn't know. I mean, I remember having this conversation with you, thinking that you were wearing a cell phone pack. And I was like, wait, okay, that's so cool. It's so trendy. I like how she's bringing that back. I'm here for it. You're like, actually, Lydia, my heart is being monitored.
Right.
But for women who think that they have to put on their cape, tighten their mask, put on their lipstick, get the job done, and then go home and die to themselves. What advice do you have for them?
Don't do that. Ask for help, and let people know. The thing about having an invisible illness, like the person that you shared, is that no one sees a wheelchair, a crutch, a cast, right? So you have to verbalize, you have to communicate when you're not well. This means mentally and physically too, because when I was diagnosed with severe depression, we had these dumbass staff meetings. You had to report what was going on. That's how I knew it was checked out, because I said dumbass staff meetings. But you had to report out what happened this week for you. And I was like, I was diagnosed with severe depression. So if I'm not nice, that's probably why.
Wow.
Yeah. And I just said it because I was irritated, and I just wanted people to know to not fuck with me or not mess with me, because I wasn't in that place. But so many of my coworkers came up to me. They're like, oh my God, that was so brave. And I was like, was it brave? But it was, because I shared something that most people don't share.
Right.
So that's why I also talk about mental health in the workplace, and mental health, particularly for women and women of color. And that's why I had to make the, professional decision to publicly share that I have this heart thing, because sometimes I do have on a heart monitor, or I need to sit down, or I need water, or I need to take my medication, or whatever the thing is. And it's mainly because especially when I coach people, I'm telling people to live in their truth. And I wasn't, people I coached knew, but external facing stuff, no one knew that, so I had to do what I told people to do. And so that's why I started, it was a big day for me. I had this big post, my blowout, and my heart monitor, and I put it on my public account. And the feedback that I got was positive. Feedback I got from clients was, really positive, and people were understanding. I thought it would affect my income, so I had some fear around that. But there was, I just worked through that fear, and it turned out to be a positive thing. I got an interview and a podcast, this other stuff that I didn't think would come from it did, because I was being able to, live in my truth. So I just the more you're able to be yourself, the easier life is. When people will come and go, jobs will come and go, and that transition will be easier because you're not fighting it. So when you are pretending like everything's okay, you are fighting the reality, right? And that is only making things worse. It's only making the health condition worse. It's only making the mental health condition worse. It's making the job worse, that relationship worse, whatever it is, because you're acting like it's something, that it's not. So, I'm a child of divorce, and I was conditioned to pretend like everything was okay from a young age when my parents are at home, fighting. Like, we look like the Cosbys. But in reality, that wasn't the case. So I learned this from a very young age to always pretend like everything was fine. And it is a reason why things were harder for me, because I wasn't truthful and I didn't communicate what was really going on. Yeah. So now everyone knows everything about me, and it's just word vomit. It's out there, and I'm an open book, like you said.
And I'm here for all of it, because it challenges me. I'll speak for myself. It challenges me to be more transparent. Mm-hmm. That's why I wanted to do this podcast. That's why I'm like, I can't be afraid of my voice and this and that. Be more enthusiastic. Yeah. Because transparency is very scary and intimidating. But like you said, when you live in your truth, you're not fighting. And I may have been paraphrasing there, but I'm not fighting against myself. Taking the wind out of yourself, not a good feeling. Not a good feeling at all. I have to ask you for another gem. You've given me so many gems. I'm like, girl, yes, come through with all the gems. But if you could drop the mic or say something before you drop the mic for everyone listening, what would it be?
Keep being amazing. That's it. You got to figure out what that is and just keep being that. It's funny, people don't think they're amazing, but if you tell them they're amazing, then they'll realize, oh my gosh, there is something potentially amazing about me. It's a signature for my email. Keeping amazing. It's the outgoing thing. Because if you had a bad day, or if you're being rude to me, or whatever it may be, it's just the easy 3 words to encourage someone to either get to that or keep doing that.
Perfect. You're amazing.
Thanks.
Oh my gosh. I can talk to you forever.
You can.
And ever and ever.
You can.
Oh, I'm going to keep talking forever. You in for life. Let the record show. No.
That's true.
Let
the
record show.
That's right. On this day.
Yes. I became your official crazy baby daddy.
You did. And I always wanted, always wanted one.
Let it be me.
I always wanted one.
I'll feed you.
I feel like it will just add so much more to my life.
I'm here. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much
You're
for
very
being a
welcome.
part of the Get My Life tour.
I'm so honored to be here.
This was the perfect first stop with a guest.
Yay.
We've taken center stage.
Let the record show that this is in Oakland, California. This is important.
This is what's up. Hello. I will be migrating this way. Literally. But this was perfect. You shared so much. And let people know how they can get in contact with you one more time.
Absolutely. So follow me at Change Cadet. So like the word change, at CHANG Cadet, CADET. Again, that's for Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And then you can read more about me or learn what I'm doing on my website at www.changecadet.com. And you can, of course, slide in my DMs with any questions you have. I tend to answer questions at least once a week. So,
yeah. Or slide in your DMs if you're single.
Right.
Qualified and looking.
Right.
Or if you are looking to hire her because she is more than qualified.
Yes.
Professional services only.
Right.
State that as well.
Right. Yeah, no, I gave that life up. No. I'm kidding.
Oh, wow. Okay. I love it.